They say that deep beyond the mountains of Aroth lies a forest that refuses to be mapped, a place where no path stays the same for more than a day. Locals call the forest the Shifting Paths, a name whispered like a curse by those who have lost loved ones to its silent embrace. The forest is ancient, older than memory, older than the kingdoms that have risen and fallen around it. At sunset, the very bones of its trails twist and rearrange, turning familiar routes into alien mazes. For centuries, travelers have vanished within. Some claim to have seen ghostly lights flickering between the trees. Others speak of voices calling them by name. No one who entered without purpose ever returned. But one autumn evening, Elias Thorne, a scholar of forgotten places, decided to defy the forest legend. Elias had always been drawn to mysteries. His home was filled with maps and relics of lost civilizations, and his journals overflowed with sketches of ruins and symbols he couldn't decipher. The forest of Shifting Paths, however, fascinated him more than any other myth. He had read ancient travelers' logs, those few that survived, and discovered a pattern. Each explorer described seeing the same stone archway, deep within the heart of the forest, carved with strange runes that seemed to glow at dusk. None of them ever described what lay beyond it. Determined to uncover its secret, Elias arrived at the forest's edge just before sunset. The trees loomed like towering sentinels, their trunks dark as iron. Their branches laced together so tightly they blotted out the sky. The air was unnaturally still. Even the birds were silent. He took his first step inside. The forest floor was carpeted with moss, damp and soft underfoot. A narrow trail wound ahead, glowing faintly in the dim light, as though inviting him deeper. For the first hour, Elias marked his way with ribbons tied to low branches and chalk symbols on rocks. He was cautious, methodical. The deeper he went, the more the forest seemed to breathe. Shadows shifted, leaves rustled though there was no wind, and the faint sound of footsteps, other than his own, seemed to echo just beyond sight. At twilight, he found something strange, a wooden signpost, old and half-rotted, pointing in 3 directions. The arrows read, "Home, truth, nowhere." Elias smiled grimly. "Truth," he murmured, and turned that way. The trail wound through thick fog. The air grew colder. The trees began to twist unnaturally, their trunks bending like ribs around a beating heart. He felt watched, though no eyes were visible. When he finally stopped to rest, the sun had almost set, and that's when he saw it. A faint shimmer rippled through the forest, like heat rising from desert sand. The paths around him began to move. He stared in disbelief as a trail he had followed slowly slid sideways, merging into another that hadn't been there moments before. The ribbons he had tied began to vanish one by one, as if swallowed by the mist. The chalk marks faded from the stones, erased by unseen hands. The forest had awakened. By nightfall, Elias was hopelessly lost. The forest glowed faintly under moonlight, and strange lights drifted among the trees, blue, soft, and pulsing like fireflies. Voices began to whisper in the distance, soft, melodic, and familiar. He froze. One of the voices was his mother's. Elias come home. His heart pounded. His mother had died years ago. The voice came from a path to his right, narrow and dark, where the mist seemed to part in invitation. For a moment, he almost followed it, but then he noticed something else. A figure stood at the edge of the opposite path, cloaked in shadow. It raised a lantern and spoke in a low voice. "Do not listen to them." Elias hesitated. "Who are you?" "A traveler like you," the figure said. "Or I was. Come quickly, before the forest chooses your path for you." Elias followed. The stranger led him to a clearing illuminated by a circle of ancient stones. In the center stood a small fire that didn't seem to burn wood, but light itself. The figure lowered the hood, revealing the face of a woman, pale, with eyes like storm clouds. "My name is Lyra," she said. "I entered this forest 10 years ago." Elias frowned. "But you're alive." "Alive?" She smiled faintly. "That depends on what you mean by the word. The forest doesn't kill. It changes you. It feeds on your memories, your desires, your fears. Every sunset, it rearranges itself, and every time it does, it decides who deserves to leave and who must stay." Elias felt a chill crawl down his spine. "Then how do I find the stone archway?" The one in the old journals? Lyra looked toward the trees. You already have. You just don't see it yet. Before he could ask what she meant, a gust of wind extinguished the fire. The clearing dissolved into mist. Lyra's voice echoed faintly. Remember the first path you chose? And then she was gone. Alone again, Elias stumbled through the fog until he reached a vast glade bathed in silver moonlight. There, half buried in roots and vines, stood the stone archway. The runes glowed faintly, pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. He stepped closer. The symbols shifted before his eyes, forming words in a language that somehow he understood. Only those who walk their truth may find the end. He thought of the signpost. Home. Truth. Nowhere. He had chosen truth. But what was his truth? That he sought knowledge, or that he was running? From the emptiness of a life spent chasing mysteries while losing everyone he loved? The forest around him stirred, the ground trembling softly. The archway's glow intensified. He reached out, and the moment his hand touched the stone, the world turned upside down. Elias found himself standing once again at the edge of the forest, under a blood-red dawn. Behind him, the trees were still and silent. For a moment, he thought he had escaped. But then he noticed something strange. The path leading out was unfamiliar. The horizon looked wrong. The mountains were shaped differently. The sun rose in the west. His heart sank. The forest had let him out, but not into his own world. Somewhere, deep within the trees, the stone archway pulsed once more, its runes whispering softly, waiting for the next soul bold or foolish enough to enter